If you struggle with discipline or motivation and you're ready to transform your life, this video is for you. You have way too much potential to just be sitting there and letting your mind be the thing that's holding you back. You're truly the hero of your own journey, and I hope that through my experiences and the way I think about things, I can help you find your spark and be the guide that leads you to achieve what you could have never thought possible. As some context, I am a YouTuber who has 200,000 subscribers right now on my main channel. I was valedictorian in high school, among some other things that I did, and thus I've gotten a little bit of a reputation for being able to achieve a lot of things. And people always ask me how I stay so disciplined, how I'm constantly motivated, honestly. And I've been thinking a lot about this. I'm pretty introspective, and I believe that what a lot of people are missing is the real sources of having the fire to work hard and achieve our dreams. People rely way too much on motivation. Motivation is a desire that comes from extrinsic factors, like you only want to work hard and achieve this because of societal expectations, or you're motivated because you see some famous person or a book author achieve certain things. So you watch those motivational videos, kind of putting yourself in the idea that like, oh my gosh, I'm so pumped up, I can do this. But that is all surface level. You might be pumped up, but that is temporary. That's a temporary spark of motivation where that fire cannot be sustained because it's only a feeling. And when you rely on motivation, discipline is also much harder because you think that in discipline, you're forcing yourself to do something, right? And it's hard to do something when you don't feel like it. Feel like it is the emotion where we're relying on motivation. It's like you will only work if you feel motivated. Since we cannot always feel motivated, the next thing we turn to is discipline. A lot of people say discipline is more important than motivation. But to me, discipline sounds really hard. The connotation is that we're forcing ourselves to do something when we don't feel like it, right? Hence, we will say that discipline is more important than motivation. People call me a disciplined person, but funny enough, I actually don't think of myself as disciplined. That sounds really hard, like I'm working against resistance. I actually find doing the right thing, the productive thing, the valuable thing, to be relatively easy, and it's all using a mindset shift. It's reframing what discipline really is. Instead of discipline being force, discipline is actually clarity of what you want. Because when you want something so deeply and so intrinsically, you have certain values and priorities, such that in this moment of deciding whether to be productive or to spend more time on your phone, it's actually an easy choice where you can control your own body to make the right choice, because when you want something so deeply, it's almost as if, why would you choose anything other than the option that gets you closer to your goal? Phone, computer, video games, social media, these are all distractions away from you reaching your greater purpose, of you achieving this thing you feel so deeply about. It's as if there's no alternative to doing this thing. And I'm not saying you feel like doing this thing, but it's that you want to. When you want to do something so badly, like it's clear what your priority is, then your logic trumps your emotions. Then you can use your brain to trump the lack of motivation that you might have. This intrinsic motivation, this deep desire, is called drive. And drive is something that you own. It's only something that you can define for yourself. That's why it's not so reliant on external sources like a motivational video or societal expectations. When you find your drive, you are asking yourself, why? Why do I want to do this thing? Well, for example, why do I want to get good grades? Well, I want to graduate. Why? Because I want to get into a good university. Why? Because I want to get a good job. Why? Well, we're in hard economic times right now, and I want to be able to eventually support a family, and I want to have financial freedom and buy the things I want, do the things I want to do. Okay, and maybe even further, why that? Well, because I only have one life, and I want to make the most of my potential and live the fullest life I can. Okay, so that's a very deep why. And that could be different for everyone. It could be like you want to retire your parents, or maybe you had some kind of childhood trauma or experience that makes you want a certain thing more than other people. But it's very unique to yourself is the overall point. However, I also get this question of how do you constantly think of your why? Like, is this something explicit that you're constantly telling yourself so you have the drive to be productive? And the answer is actually no. I'm not constantly like explicitly, I want to make enough money to make my parents comfortable and to treat them with things that they could never buy themselves. When I am struggling to choose the productive option of what to do with my time right now, I might think back to my why, and in particular, a strong memory of perhaps my parents helping me. And that will kind of get me back into the moment and the time when I made this my why. And so that will help me get back into the zone and make the right decision. When we're in a slump and not used to making productive decisions, the first time you do that might be a little hard. But each time you do that right choice over and over again, it'll become easier and like a habit. And that's when discipline kind of becomes a habit. So discipline and this drive kind of all come together where you can explicitly think of your why when it's hard. But once you repeatedly do it, then it's more of a habit. Inspiration is also something that you need. Sometimes the why just seems so far down the road, right? Like if you're still in school, how can you be thinking all the time, I want to get a good job in the future to support a family, right? That's kind of weird. That's not your life right now. So inspiration is what I would say, again, is something better than motivation. Inspiration is also like you're taking things and making them your own. So if you see a motivational speech or a motivational story from someone, I'd say that you need to put yourself in the shoes of that person, where you see this person becoming valedictorian. Okay. Instead of being motivated to also become valedictorian, the better thing is to be inspired by their story, inspired by the hard work they put in, even when they had hard times, inspired by how driven they are to reach their potential, inspired in those ways to make those characteristics into your own that you want to embody. That's what I consider powerful about inspiration. Like I might watch Blogilates and her clothing line, and instead of being motivated to do something because she achieved something, instead I'm inspired, like she has this potential and this idea and these unique characteristics that gave her this achievement. I also have unique potential and characteristics where I'm now inspired to use that to get my own achievement. You need to see yourself as that successful person. When you're inspired, you need to visualize and you can imagine yourself being that successful version of yourself. You're not imagining that you look like that successful person you saw. You are inspired by them such that you can imagine yourself with your own special achievements. For me, a huge reason for why I continue to be able to grind seemingly harder than other people and really barely spend time watching TV, for example, is because I believe so much in the result. Like, I need to believe in the result to be giving my all, because I know that if I spend my time tonight working on my projects and working on my YouTube channel instead of watching TV, I know that will propel me farther and closer to my dream, then I'm definitely going to do it. Because why would you put all your effort into something if you don't truly believe it's going to pay off? You kind of almost have to be what they call delulu these days. I hate that kind of slang. So weird. And just like, you have to believe in the impossible, even when nobody else thinks it's possible, because that's the only way in which these amazing things even came to be. Because what is possible at the end of the day? People thought that I was the last person who would have a successful YouTube channel. But what is possible? You don't know unless you try. And I think that's the amazing thing. Like, aren't you curious about what you can achieve when you try? But the first step to be able to try is yourself to believe that it's possible. You are so powerful. Your mind and your own unique strengths are so powerful. You have to believe that you can do anything you set your mind to. That's the way I thought, because when I just finished my summer internship after junior year, I was deciding what full-time job to recruit for, and so many people recommended consulting to me. But people have already been preparing for consulting case interviews a year, 2 years in advance. So I could have easily been like, well, I stand no chance. This would just be a waste of my time. Why don't I try recruiting for a different job? Like, maybe I'll just try returning to a biotech company. But instead, I knew that if I put my mind to it, and if I decide concretely today, I'm gonna go for this, that's the moment when I'm gonna give my all. The day I decide that, that's when I'm going to mark on my calendar every single day. I'm going to prepare. I'm going to start Googling the crap out of everything. I'm going to look up YouTube videos, free tutorials, free resources, sign up for newsletters. That's the day when I'm going to go ham. It took me a couple weeks of contemplating to decide I'm going to go ham. But the moment I decide that I'm going to do something, that's when the race begins. This is the exact same thinking that I had when I was considering trading as a potential job. Trading is an extremely intellectually demanding job where only very, very smart people really good at math can do or can get that job even. And there's also a lot of technical, tricky interviews. I did strongly consider it because I knew that if I decided to do it, I could get it. And call me delusional because it's pretty hard to do, but I just knew that if I decide to do it, I can do it. And when I decide to do it, I'm gonna be putting my all and looking up all the resources, networking, all that stuff. But I decided not to do it simply because I didn't think that the effort would be really worth it, because I don't think trading suited me anyway. So the idea is, when you have this confidence in yourself, the world just opens up to you. Like, you believe that anything is possible, so you can pick and choose almost what job you want. Like, I knew that I could be a consultant or I can be a trader. It's all up to if I decide to pursue consulting or if I decide to pursue trading, how much effort I put in. If I choose this, I'm going to put in as much effort as I need to be a consultant. If I choose trader, I'm going to put in as much effort as I need to be a trader. That's the kind of trust and confidence you need to build in yourself. Embody that. How do you build this trust in yourself? Start small. The reason you aren't confident is because you're not giving yourself a reason to be. You can say all the affirmations you want, but you won't actually believe it, nor will you embody it if there's no evidence to support you being confident. Every time you say to yourself you're going to do something, like you say you're going to do homework and sleep early, like you say you're going to do 2 hours of studying, when you say you're going to do that and then you don't, that's decreasing your confidence and trust in yourself every time. Because why? Because you are lying to yourself. When someone lies to you, your trust in them is decreased, right? So when you lie to yourself, that gives you less trust in yourself. So you need to start small with being like, I know that I procrastinate, but today I'm just going to try and do one math problem earlier than I usually did. When you follow through and you stuck to your promise to yourself, then you're like, hey, maybe I can do this. Maybe I do have the capability. So then you can go even bigger and bigger. When you fall and you get back up, you're pulling yourself back up, right? So that's also building trust. Think about a friend you have. Like when you're struggling and they help you out of your hole, maybe they come to your house and they talk to you for hours, or they literally pick you up after you fall on the ground. You're going to trust and love that friend even more. So you need to be that person to yourself. Another example of how powerful this confidence is. I was calling my friend the other day, my friend from high school. I told her, I think to everyone in our high school, I would be the last person they think would be a creator, a successful YouTuber. And she was like, yeah, I know, right? I said that, but then I realized I am actually the first person I would think who could become a successful YouTuber. And why is that? Because who else has my work ethic? Who else has my determination to want something and just get it? Because it's not my genius ability that made me valedictorian. No, I'm not naturally smart. Otherwise, it would have been a lot easier to do that. No, it's because of those other characteristics. So why couldn't I use those same characteristics to get something else I want in life? Even though doing well on YouTube was so much harder than getting straight A's in high school, I believed that this is hard for everyone. So if it's hard for everyone, and I have proven to myself before that I can stand above the rest with my hard work and my ability to analyze and introspect, then I can also apply that here. I would be the most likely person to succeed in this other hard area. Because I think that if many people in my same high school just worked as hard as I did, then yeah, they could become valedictorian too. Like there's nothing really special about what I did, I think, you know? It's literally like I only took several actions and I only thought in several ways. I didn't have like natural talent or a special mentor that was like, here's how you become rank number 1. Like I didn't have those tricks in the book. You know what I mean? Like I didn't have like tricks pulling out of my sleeve like, oh, this is why it's easier for me to succeed. No. So that's why I actually think that I would be the first person to predict having success on such a difficult pursuit. YouTube is a lot harder than it seems and that people get credit for. I was so lost and had my confidence shaken so many times throughout 2 years, posting video after video, 20, 40 hours of editing just to end up with 200, 300 views. And it's only because of my resilience in school that I knew, well, I had that previous experience. Why don't I trust in myself again and keep going in this new experience? When you do it enough, you become your own inspiration. At this point, because I have a bunch of proof from earlier in my life, I am inspired by that, and I have even more trust in myself that I can go on to achieve greater and greater things. Because I was younger and less knowledgeable when I achieved those things. Those things seemed hard. And now I'm at this stage where I'm smarter, I have more experienced, so I can achieve even greater things. When I admire someone the most, it's when they tell me about their journey. And it's when I hear about how they talked themselves out of dark places, how they overcame challenges. Like David Goggins, I admire him not just because he won Olympic or he broke Guinness World Records, but I admire him so much because he started from the bottom, like 300 something pounds, and it took his own discipline and determination, even when he was poor, to become a Navy SEAL and train until he was extremely, extremely fit. That's what I admire. I don't admire necessarily the achievements that people got. I admire their stories and how they got there and their traits. Since that's what I admire, that's what I also prioritize myself having. That it's about having good traits and going after it day after day without focusing too much on the result, because the result technically is something we can't, directly control. There's factors like luck involved, but I have enough belief in myself that as long as I am focusing on the things I can control, my habits, my mindset, building those traits and sticking to my values, that it's inevitable that something great, something amazing is going to happen. It's not that I can naturally talk in front of a camera. It's not that I am so good at editing videos or I already know how to become a YouTuber. In fact, I was probably one of the quieter ones in school, at least in the first few years. I was not known to be loud or outgoing or want to put myself out there. Me believing that I have a higher probability of success on YouTube is not because of natural ability. Instead, it's because I know that I have this huge growth mindset, that even though I'm not good at talking to a camera, even though I know nothing about editing, nothing about SEO or anything, I know that I can learn it, that I know I can figure it out. If I have a goal, I'm going to do everything in my power, search all the free resources, network as much as I can, and just put myself out there and take risks, take chances to get her done. I'm going to find some way. Circling back with that corporate lingo, going back to discipline. So it's about using logic. It's about pushing away your emotions of not wanting to do it, because those are all temporary. You will never regret working towards something that you want. I believe you will absolutely never regret taking a step in what you believe in, because regardless of the result, you are going to gain something out of that. Like if you just sit at home all day on Netflix, nothing's happening in your life, right? You're not letting life happen to you. But if you take action, something is going to happen. You're either going to get a lesson which you can learn from and that will make you even better, or you're going to achieve. Like either way, you just can't lose. If you try, you just can't lose. Either situation is a win for you. How do you know what you can achieve if you don't try? Aren't you curious? People might be scared of failing or just scared of putting themselves out there, but isn't it scary to not know what you could have gotten? It's scary to do the thing. It's uncomfortable to do the thing. But how scary is it to not know whether you could be achieving some part of your dream life? How uncomfortable is it to sit in the knowledge that you had all this potential and you didn't even try to use it? When you see successful people out there, that should not be discouragement to you. That should not make you feel bad that they got that and you're at a different place in your life, because that achievement might not even be something you want, right? Like someone wins a supermodel contest. Oh, am I going to be jealous about that? No, I'm not going to be a model. Like I'm not pursuing that path, right? Comparison is the thief of joy. And I find myself doing that a lot too, where I compare myself to someone who achieved something and I have to take a step back and be like, wait, I don't even want that thing. Like that's not even my life. We want to take everything and use it to our advantage. So if there's a successful person, use them as inspiration. And how you do that is, instead of just looking at their achievements, think about all the hard work that it took to get there. Like they might look like an overnight success, but I promise you it took years of grinding, being in the dark basement with no one knowing their name. It took years of that, unless they're a Nepo baby, but obviously we're not talking about them. I think sometimes we can get stuck in our heads being so bitter toward people who are successful. And I struggle with this too again. It's not just, I'm not just saying everyone else does this. I do too. And we just forget about the great things that they did where like they deserve that, because it's really easy to think, oh, they're just lucky. They probably didn't have to work that hard for it. Why am I struggling so hard? But for me, I'm proof to myself too that like hard work does pay off. When you're driven and inspired, you also need to believe in hard work. That's a key part of being driven and inspired, because you believe the hard work will pay off. That goes back to what I said all the way in the beginning, that belief. Since how I became valedictorian was a lot of hard work. The then salutatorian was neck and neck with me for being valedictorian at first. And he actually was legitimately more like naturally smart, because he was so effortless. He barely studied. And a lot of other people would say that, he's a real genius. They honestly would kind of be like, wow, Amy's a try-hard, or like, she's not good enough. He should be valedictorian, right? But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how naturally gifted he was or how much people think he deserved it. I got it. With hard work, even though I'm not as naturally smart as him, even though I might not be who people believed should get it, I got it. Don't get discouraged seeing other people's achievements like mine. Some people comment on my channel like, oh, you make me feel so bad because you were valedictorian. Well, I also put in a ton of work to get there. And you must know that at least in this situation, it was really hard for me. It was not easy for me. And so that's something to be celebrated even more, I think, because very well could this number 2, this salutatorian, just tried a little bit harder and then he still would have won valedictorian, because things just come naturally easier to him. And I could have very easily lost and become a salutatorian. But at the end of the day, at least I tried my hardest, and I wouldn't have regrets or feel that bad for losing that position. It's about the journey, and in this day and age where you can easily someone's LinkedIn profile and see their achievements, XYZ, it's so easy to forget that because we don't hear about all the struggles they had. Since I want to be very holistic and comprehensive about how to keep yourself going, I want to end talking on 2 more things real quick. Number 1, how to make things more enjoyable, how to make the process enjoyable. And number 2, what happens when you do get knocked down and when you fail or get rejected. So number 1, on pumping yourself up, music is a huge part of my life and making me happy. I remember in high school, I was in the basement working, and I would just play my favorite songs playlist really loud, and I'd be visibly bopping my head and just like jamming out, just having a great time while doing my homework. Even now when I'm doing chores and cooking, cleaning, I'm just singing my heart out because that makes me so happy. And when I feel down, I find that every time I play music really loudly and I, can even dance on my own, that brings my mood up. So it's those kinds of things where you love them and they can kind of bring you back to a state that you want to be in, because we're not always happy, we're not always energetic. I get down too, but I find that consistently music is something that I can lean on as something that is more of like a quick fix, a mood booster per se. So find your version of what music is to me. The second thing about failure and rejection, first of all, I really want to stress about giving your all, because when you give your all, you will not really feel that bad about failing. As long as you can reflect and be like, wait, actually, I did everything in my power. I did everything to the best of my knowledge to get that. It's not your fault. but it can hurt, of course. So for example, in Caltech, I tried out for a cappella, and I thought I was a good singer, but apparently not. Apparently they didn't think so. So I got rejected the first time, and the second time I got in, but I never got a solo. And that really hurt me too, because I'm like, I think I'm pretty good. But that is when I let other people dictate how good I am, right? Instead of letting their rejection or their judgment showing me that I'm not good enough, I will try to take matters into my own hands. They might control whether or not I get to sing in front of the school, but my sister and I, we created this singing YouTube channel where we do covers on there, and we grew it to 40,000 subscribers on our own. So that is something that also built my confidence, where like, maybe you won't give me this validation per se, but I give myself validation, and I can find my own way to use the talents I think I have. And this might not work in all cases, right? Like, if you're actually not good, maybe I actually was really bad. That's fine. But my point is, I will work on myself and do the things that I can control to still give myself a taste of what I wanted. And that was to have my voice heard by more people. So I did that on my own through YouTube. That is having a strong internal locus of control. In being inspired, disciplined, driven, we're often looking forward. But I've been taking the time recently to stop and look backwards. Just last night, I came back from a creator event, and I find that every time I hang out with cool, kind people, my energy and my mood just increases dramatically. And I was like, wow, this is something that I dreamed of before. I can't take this for granted right now. This makes me so happy. I have to know that this was not something easy that I could get. 2 years ago, I could have only dreamt of having moments like these, being around other creators. And that led me to also remember how when I was a kid, like in elementary school, I would write my own stories. I would come up with my own worlds and write names for little buildings I'd make out of cardboard boxes. I would write this little sign that I tape up on my door saying, "Ask Amy." Like, ask Amy anything and she'll give you advice. So remembering that was like, wow, this little girl had these certain passions and interests that were kind of stifled when she was going through middle school and high school and trying to be the best version of normal. But this little girl would be so extremely proud and happy if she could see how far she's come. She would admire she would admire her older self so much. That made me so happy. Just like, I'm kind of living her dream right now, where I can give people advice. I can create my own worlds, communities per se, on the internet. And it's using those little dreams, not little dreams, it's kind of using those big dreams that kids have and making them reality. Because middle school and high school, there's a lot of peer pressure, there's a lot of expectations placed on us that you no longer think like a kid anymore. So I'm just really excited to come full circle and give my younger self what I know she would have wanted, what I know she did want. I'm excited that I was able to do those desires justice, and that in wanting to live my fullest, my best life, I am not having any regrets, because I know that now at least I'm honoring who I am more, because I'm fully aware that if I had stuck to the path of being a management consultant and been fully in the corporate world, that I would regret it, because I'm not being who I really am. I'm not doing what that 7-year-old me would be very excited about. So I'm losing my voice. Oh my gosh. Message in this part. I'm hoarse now. I actually sang a lot before starting to film this video. Be authentic. Be yourself and have more trust in what you want. And you can't go wrong with that. You will be happy. You won't regret anything. Whenever you feel unhappy, think about if you're putting yourself first. Typically that's the solution, because when we're scrolling on our phones, we might feel this sense of guilt, and that's actually because we're not putting ourselves first. We're putting someone else's content before our own lives. Work might be hard, it might be a grind, but I know that I'm happy doing it, just like I was smiling to myself, thinking of my younger self, and now I'm also happy and smiling to my future self, knowing that this is only the beginning. We're going to continue leveling up and up and up. It is hot, so I think my armpits are sweaty. I hope that this was helpful. I always love hearing your comments and feedback about how I can explain things better, what else you'd like me to talk about, my perspectives on any other questions you have. You can check out my other episodes about how to be lucky, how to deal with friendships, and more on my channel. And thanks so much. I will see you in the next one. Keep being you. You are awesome. Tell yourself that every day, but also have a reason to go with it, because I find that's the most effective way to affirm that you're awesome. You have to be like, oh, I'm awesome because blah. And then you will keep doing blah.